Hey guys, how's it going? This is my first video, so forgive me if I don't know, I stumble or I am awkward or anything like that. It's my first ever video on YouTube doing anything really. And yeah, so glad we got that out of the way. Glad we can already establish that I'm a weird, awkward mess. Alright, so today, in this video, we will be discussing a hashtag on Twitter that has been trending, and I thought that I'm a pretty good candidate to talk about it. But basically, we're going to be talking about the hashtag I stand with JKRowling and why it's dumb and stupid and yeah, not great. And I believe I'm a pretty good candidate because it's like a fucking job interview. I think I'm a pretty reputable person to talk about this with, not because I'm like qualified in tough talk or anything like that. I am a trans person. I am a trans mask person. If I went down to the nuts and bolts of gender identity, I'll be here for 3 hours. So to cut it short, yeah, I'm a trans mask person. I'm a boy, not a boy. I'm in a non-binary section somewhere. But basically, I am in the trans umbrella. I am in the trans circle, therefore I feel like I'm a pretty good candidate to talk about trans issues. I want to preface this by saying that I was a fan of Harry Potter. I will confess a sin in that I have never read the books. Well, okay, that's a lie. I've read the first book when I was like 9. Yeah, we can all hate on that. Give people a moment to cringe. Yeah, so I haven't read the books. I have watched all the movies. I enjoyed the movies a lot growing up as a kid. It was one of my favorite movies. I was quite into the Harry Potter houses. I'm Slytherin, by the way. Yeah, evil Slytherin stuff. Yeah. So finding out that J.K. Rowling is a TERF kind of sucks. You know, as years have passed, I've realized that the Harry Potter series could be much better than it was. There's definitely problematic aspects to it. A lot of lazy writing. I don't have strong opinions on how she portrayed like the Slytherin house, how she portrays like Quidditch World Cup teams outside of the UK. But for what it was, I enjoyed it. So it's still sad to learn that J.K. Rowling is kind of a TERF. That sucks. But so instead of doing some serious analyzing of, you know, the Harry Potter universe and J.K. Rowling being a TERF and stuff, I'm just gonna look at tweets from people who stand her and basically exposing themselves as TERFs as well, and why that's not great and you should feel bad. So first up, I see a tweet saying,
I've noticed a pattern in which whenever I engage with anything on here to do with trans issues, I lose 2/3 followers, and that's fine. But to be honest, I'd rather have the argument. To be clear, I stand with J.K. Rowling for the following reasons.
I feel like, if you're losing 2/3 followers every time you talk about trans issues, either it's because you have a lot of transphobic people following you, or because you're being transphobic. And if you're standing J.K. Rowling, my thought is more so on the latter. Here's the following reasons.
The argument is, at its core, about self-ID. That is a campaign to remove gatekeepers, such as medical professionals diagnosing gender dysphoria, from the process of changing gender sex. Now, there are many other issues here around feminism, biology, language, etc., for which arguments are made by more articulate people than me. I'll leave it to them. My concern is about Steve. Steve is a male human, and Steve is a sex offender. I know Steve because I've worked with him over the last decades of my work in prisons. Steve will do anything at all, to fulfill his desire to abuse, degrade, humiliate, and control women and girls. Steve is not trans by any definition that is commonly accepted. Steve should not be confused with trans people. He is not them. But he wants you to think he is.
I don't like where this is going already. There's a problem here already. He's taking a sex offender, and even though he's saying should not be confused with trans people and he's not trans, this Steve guy, not trans, you're still saying that trans women are sexual predators or sex offenders and therefore should not be accepted in women's spaces, and that's problematic.
He wants you to think he is, because he loves power and control and sexual dominance of the unwilling. Steve is the guy who exposes himself to girls in the park. Steve is not trans, but he knows what being able to say he is now a woman will bring him.
See, here's the thing. Bathroom bills, the arguments around that saying that, it's going to give, sexual predators a pass to pretend to be trans or whatever. All that's doing is hurting trans women. If you're going to put in a rule, just in case, to then just sort of have this generalization that, well, we can't allow trans women in the space, or we can't allow them in the female's bathroom because they might be a sexual predator. That's problematic. That's not okay. And to remind people who may not know, this whole controversy started because JKRowling made tweets saying she was mocking a headline about people who menstruate, and then saying, oh, women. I'm a trans masc person. I don't menstruate anymore because I take testosterone, and testosterone has prevented my menstruation cycle. There are some trans masc and trans men people out there who do menstruate. They're not women. There are non-binary people who menstruate. They're not women. There are some of those examples of trans men, trans masc, non-binary people who menstruate who may be on hormone therapy. Hormone therapy doesn't 100% guarantee definitely stops menstruation. I was quite lucky in that it did stop. I still get cramps every second month, and honestly, what's the point of being on testosterone if I'm still gonna get cramps? But sometimes people may still experience spotting, or sometimes they just still have a menstruation cycle. It doesn't always stop. And to perpetuate that idea that only women can menstruate is transphobic. It's transphobic towards trans women because you're saying that they're not women. It's transphobic towards trans men because you're stating that they aren't men, they are women. It's transphobic towards non-binary people because you're saying they are women. Womanhood isn't menstruation. If anything, I kind of feel like it's almost a little sexist in the matter too, or misogynistic, because you're basically defining womanhood by their ability to have children. And that's a whole can of worms. It's stupid. It's utterly stupid.
It brings him access to women's spaces, and this is key. This is not about access to assault. This is about him exerting his power to make women uncomfortable. The flasher doesn't often assault. He gets his pleasure from the woman being forced into the experience. Steve gets aroused by the thought of... Steve's not trans, Steve is a sex offender. The argument is not about trans women, the argument is about how to stop Steve, a sex offender, pretending to be trans.
By this argument, we're not trying to hurt trans women, we're not trying to infringe on trans women's rights, we're just trying to stop Steve, the sexual predator, from pretending to be a trans woman. So we're going to put in bills and laws that actively harm trans women out of the possibility that that trans woman might actually be a Steve. Also, sorry if your name's Steve, but that's not a good way to put at it. That's and I know this isn't really a good analogy, but it's like that one kid in class who is disruptive and really annoying and such like that. So the teacher decides to put everyone in detention over that one kid. It's not fair. It's not fair to make such a generalized statement or make such a blanket policy that will actively harm vulnerable people. It's not okay. So here's another tweet.
I've been hiding from this place, but I feel I need to say a huge thank you to JKRowling for her bravery. As a survivor of sexual violence, I know how much talking about these experiences can be painful.
Now, the reason why she's bringing that up is because JKRowling, in case once again people didn't see, JKRowling excused her TERFY tweets by saying that she is a victim of domestic violence. And that's awful. I'm genuinely sorry that she had to go through such traumatic experiences. And I don't want to diminish her experience as a domestic violence survivor at all. But it's also just like, there are plenty of people who've gone through that and aren't TERFs. Being a victim of domestic violence doesn't make you a TERF. It doesn't, you don't go, oh, you know, I've been abused. I guess trans women suck. That, no. You're just a TERF. And to hide behind your awful experiences that you've gone through is really bad, because it's now created this thing where people are saying horrible things and saying she deserved the violence because she's a TERF, and that's not okay. But on the flip side, it's also creating this thing that you can no longer criticize her as a TERF without somehow being problematic towards domestic violence survivors. That's not okay either. She's made this situation so unnecessarily complex. The simple fact is she made a transphobic tweet, multiple transphobic tweets. She's supported TERF people in the past. She is a TERF. That's the most simplistic way to put it. You can't be a TERF because you've gone through domestic violence. That's just not how that works, you know? And it's a shame because people are using their horrible experiences to justify their transphobic behavior, and that's not okay. There's no excuse for bad behavior. There just isn't. Here we go. I love this one.
Unbelievable. A woman who dares to say that only women have periods is on the 10 o'clock news at JKRowling. Has the world gone fucking mad?
Yes. Here we go.
Spending a lot of quality time with JKRowling. And I gotta say, my admiration for that woman is growing with every stitch. It's sort of mending all of the cracks this woman-hating world keeps producing. Hashtag I stand with JKRowling.
Don't get me wrong, misogyny is still very much rampant in this world. There's definitely more that needs to be done. But to say that calling someone a TERF is misogynistic is fucking stupid. It's just dumb. It's just utterly ridiculous. Like, that's what you are. I'm sorry. If you exclude trans women in your feminist movement, you are a TERF. That's just how it is. It's just as simple as that. It's not a slur. Anyone who says TERF is a slur is ridiculous. You may as well then say calling someone a racist is a slur. Like, that's pretty much what it is. That's ridiculous. It's not like people calling her a TERF because out of like a malicious intent or anything like that. People are calling her a TERF because that is what she is. Like, you call it what it is. Someone says something racist, well, they're a racist. If someone's saying something transphobic, they're transphobic. And if it's specifically towards trans women, you're a TERF. Especially if you're carrying on some narrative of like, this is the betterment for womanhood and feminism. That is literally a TERF. Yeah, I even whip up the definition of TERF right there. Like, it's trans exclusionary radical feminism. Like, that's what it is. You are a TERF. You just call it what it is. And you have to. Oh, this is a good tweet. I'm gonna share it because it's a good tweet. 11 out of 10. I stan this tweet.
As a fan of the Harry Potter world, I'm disheartened by the opinions of JKRowling on transgender population. But rather than express rage and rejection to the books that were a milestone of my childhood, I think that Harry Potter has lessons that Rowling has to relearn.
I like this tweet. Now, there's definitely a discussion that has to be made in that Harry Potter, while definitely has good lessons, probably also has ideals that reflect J.K. Rowling's problematic values and beliefs and such. There could be the discussion in regards to the goblins at the bank being an anti-Semitic reflection on Jewish people, and topics similar to that, definitely, for sure. But, and as Daniel Radcliffe put it, you know, if Harry Potter impacted your life in such a positive way, if it was such an influential part of your life and helped build up your values and beliefs that, you know, racism is bad, transphobia is bad, the idea of purity is problematic and such like that, that should not be taken from you. You know, you can still appreciate the Harry Potter universe and understand that JKRowling is problematic and should probably relearn some of the values that she tried to instill in people. And you can take the universe how you want, and if that is how you interpret it, and if that's how you want to take it as, then by all means do it. You know, I'm not against, God, this is actually a terrible admission. In a perfect ideal world, Harry would have been a Slytherin, and the whole series would have ended with Harry and Draco being together. That is my personal, most ideal world. Because I think that would have been far more interesting, personally. So yeah, just throwing that one out there.
Isn't it ironic that the day after JK Rowling posted some insane tweets, I hurt my leg and it bruised exactly on Hedwig's head?
That's a quality tweet, if I do say so myself.
JK Rowling sucks.
That's a good tweet. I like that one. I can't disagree with that, you know?
Seeing so many women post about little steps of bravery they have taken this week thanks to JK Rowling. Whether it's de-anonymizing their account, talking to friends, or even liking a tweet. Thank you for being brave in this moment. We need every one of you. Hashtag I stand with JKR.
It's been proven time and time again. When someone comes out with their stories, more people follow suit. And that's great. I love that people are finding a voice and talking about what they've gone through. What I don't like is that J.K. Rowling pretty much hid her transphobia and TERFY-ness behind her experiences with domestic violence. And I'm so scared that people are going to take that as a sign that their transphobia is justified because they've experienced those things. It never should be. Anyway, I am starting to kind of lose brain cells, so I'm gonna wrap it up there, to be honest. Alright, so I hope you liked it. I'm probably definitely doing more Twitter deep dives. You can follow me on my Twitter, you can follow me on my Tumblr, you can follow me here. I will upload as much as I can. Please like and subscribe, it would really help me out. And I will see you in the next video, hopefully. Alright, bye.